Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breakdown Podcast with Luke. This week, we're back once again. I know I took a week off. Sorry about that. Some family travel got away from me. But I'm back this week. We're back with another jam-packed podcast. Windows 10 is coming to an end as Windows 11 has been confirmed. We are seeing some big changes. How the post office does its work. Maybe Amazon's taken over a little bit. And the FBI tricks hundreds of criminals into using an encrypted app that they actually secretly ran, allowing them to spy on a whole long list of different criminal operations and arrest hundreds of people. So we'll be breaking down that and so much more in this week's podcast. First, though, if you're watching this on YouTube, I do have this available as a podcast and many podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, just to name a few. I'll put a link to all of them down below. If you're listening to this on a podcast, we're also over on the YouTube channel here with a video for The Breakdown with Luke. Just look for on YouTube, youtube.com/The Breakdown with Luke. So check that out. Also, huge thank you to everybody who's checked out my gaming channel. That's been going gangbusters, setting records for traffic and for viewership. Thank you for that. Can't believe the number of people. Almost hit 1,000 subscribers already, which is crazy considering we just launched it a few months ago. Thank you to everybody for your support there. And lastly, if you want to check us out on Discord, we do have a Discord group with several of us all chatting back and forth about tech and different things happening in the world. I'll put a link to our Discord group. It's a free chat room available on PCs, mobile devices, and more. So check that out if you want to chat with me in real time. But let's dive into it, starting off with Windows 11. So Windows 10 is coming to an end because Windows 11 has been announced. And I know there's always these comparisons. Look, Microsoft's copying Apple, different things. I think one of the big things different when you look at the screenshots is the fact that the toolbar at the bottom, or wherever you put it, instead of having everything slammed to the left with the start button on the left, it's more in the middle, very similar to iOS on Mac. Now, I always get a crack about this because iOS copies from Microsoft, Microsoft copies from iOS. Apple recently seems like they're copying heavily from Google Android for iOS and talk about how new it is. You flip that around and you can say, yeah, Android definitely copied features from iOS. It's kind of one of those things. I know we love, as our fanboy natures, to fight about this, but really I think everybody's doing it now. Overall, I really do like this. This is a huge graphical jump. Overall, everything else seems to be very similar. Now, this was a leaked set of images that came, so there are a lot that could change, but we do have a dark mode that now goes throughout all of Windows, and there's a lot more transparency. For instance, when you pull up a menu bar on the right-hand side to do things like maybe turn on and off Bluetooth, mess with your networks, or more, instead of just being a black or white or whatever color you set that to be, it's a very transparent looking look, and it kind of matches the color of the background of whatever image you have, which is really cool. A lot more look into live panels where on your Windows desktop, if you've seen the Windows 10 update that added weather and more to your menu bar at the bottom, which I love. I know some people hate it and you can turn it off, but I love it right here that when I look at my computer, my current temp is right there. I can click on it to see local traffic, local news, the local stock market things I watch, top stories, and more, all right there. It looks like that's going to become a bigger thing in 11 as they integrate it more. Now, who here remembers desktop widgets in the 2000s? I think Yahoo, I forget what company it started, but Yahoo bought them. And there were all these little widgets you could put on your desktop to have weather and stocks and all kinds of information. I loved it. I had a notepad, I had a radar, and the weather update right on my desktop. Now Windows has a lot of that built in, but it looks like they're expanding that more heavily and allowing you to have more little widgets and more. I'll be honest though, I don't spend a lot of time on my desktop anymore. It's either in my browser or straight to a program. I think my browser's pretty much become my wallpaper, and then I open programs on top of my browser and do some stuff and then go back to the browser. Actually sitting on the desktop or using desktop icons, I don't do that much. It's mostly in the start menu or the quick search, which I think Microsoft has done a very good job with. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I'm going to keep a close eye on this. I actually really like what I see so far on this. It'll be interesting to see what kind of customizations, with everything kind of going center menu with the start button and everything off the center of your screen. Are they still going in the options, give you an option to left justify it more, like how they allow you to adjust the placement of the bar on your screen and more? We'll have to see. Now, the downside to this is we do have a ticking clock on the life of Windows 10. So you have Windows 10, you have about 4 years left in 2025, in October of it, to be exact, October 14th, Windows 10 is coming to an end. So you still have quite a bit of life in it. I'm actually need to upgrade my computer. I bought a computer last year. It's dying on me. I have several parts on it, and after looking at it, just not worth it. So I'm kind of hoping I can squeeze out some life on this. This computer has been nothing but trouble. I may actually dig out my old one that I have down below. But, and the reason I may pull out my old one is because parts right now, new computers are expensive because of shipping, and getting certain parts are very hard, especially graphics card and motherboards for higher end ones like I use for my video editing here. But Windows 10, if you buy it now, you still got 4 years of official updates to it. And of course, you can always upgrade to Windows 11. There's been a lot of rumors that Windows 11 will be treated more like an update than a full-blown release, which may mean you get a lot easier ability to update your system, maybe a cheaper price. We'll see. But I think Microsoft is really hoping that people will be able to go out there and willing to pay it. Let's see real quick when Windows 10 was released. Okay, 2015. So that'll be 10 years of support, over 10 years, just barely. So released July 29th, 2015 for Windows 10, and Windows 10 will end support in October of 2025. So over 10 years, that's a pretty good run. I'll keep a close eye on this. Let me know, are you freaked out a little bit about ending support? Honestly, 10 years of support, I think that's really good. You know, something that a lot of other operating systems don't offer. So we'll keep a close eye on this. All right, what may be one of the most interesting stories out there is, for a while now, there's been a lot of talk about super encrypted apps that were preventing law enforcement from detecting all kinds of nasty activities happening around the world as bad people were using these super encrypted apps. Apparently there was one that was very popular that you couldn't get on any device that had a standard iOS or Android. You had to buy it from people you knew and all kinds of different things. And what it turned out to be was actually a joint operation, FBI led, but it sounds like Australia was very involved with some European countries, that they developed this app that looked super secure and had all kinds of security features built in to make it very hard to have your messages intercepted. And you could only talk to people with that app and all kinds of things. And it wasn't available. You couldn't go on the web and download it. You couldn't do that. You had to know somebody who could transfer it from their phone to your phone, basically, and all kinds of stuff. Well, it turned out that was an FBI created app. They created it. They used their insiders, their leakers, or whatever, to kind of put it out there and get people to start using it. And they used it to arrest hundreds of people planning some of the most gruesome crimes out there. And it's a pretty cool thing. Now, the truth is, encryption is only as good as technology, right? Your encryption, this takes so long to crack. Well, today it does. Tomorrow, a supercomputer can crack that a lot faster. A lot of talk about, Apple uncrackable. Remember when the FBI was asking Apple to help with getting information off a phone from somebody who had done some very bad things? They thought there was information on it related to other potential bad things happening. I gotta be careful so YouTube doesn't flag this. And Apple said they wouldn't do it. So the FBI went out, found other people, and created their own system, and was able to crack the iPhone security and get their data off of it. And now regularly does that without Apple's help. Now, a lot of people complained about Apple, like, Apple, this is like a wrong hill to die on. There's a national security aspect here with this phone to get unlocked and have people look at it. And Apple said they wouldn't do it because they thought that their security was good enough, and they thought it was bad precedent to do it, because if you do it once, now every court's going to order you to do it, right? And that's the debate. Should companies turn over your data if a court orders it? I would say yes. I'm on the thing that if there is a true due process system here, if they go to court, we present the things, and we look, and then the judge looks at both options and then says, yes, we believe that this information is of a national security nature, for example, and it needs to be handed over. I'm perfectly fine with that. Now what we've created, though, is the FBI doesn't need that. They just go and use their software and crack Apple's technology. Apple may try to patch it to stop them, but it's hard to stop the federal government. They have a lot of resources and money to throw at problems. and with some very powerful supercomputers that can really brute force certain things. So we'll have to keep a close eye on this. But it's very clear that this idea that, I have secure messaging, well, yeah, maybe secure from just regular people out there. But I don't think you're really going to know if you're secure from things like the federal government. I don't think you are in the way if they really want to look at your data, whatever encryption you have, no matter how good it is, if you put enough money and you put enough power and computing into it, it can eventually be cracked. And with the supercomputers and more that the FBI have access to, and their ability in this case to trick you into using something that they have a back door to, I think that really changes the way we have to look at security, both at a corporate level. I know I took that very seriously within my company. We had a lot of people try to access our networks. They could figure out what we were writing about. It would give them a heads up on different things. Or just people who didn't like us. So we had to pay very close attention to two-factor authentication and so on and so on. And in the end, that was the big thing. How secure was it? It was secure enough for the average Joe, but probably wouldn't stop the FBI, for example. All right, next story up. Amazon and the U.S. Postal Service are teaming up. Yes, the U.S. Postal Service is contracting with airplanes to transport cargo for the U.S. Postal Service. Increasingly, Amazon is becoming a massive juggernaut that puts Ma Bell to shame. Remember Ma Bell, the big company, Bell Phones, which basically had monopoly on phones. Remember having to rent a answering machine? You could only buy approved phones from them and different things. Well, that was smashed up into different ones. I know it's kind of rebuilt into AT&T and other companies, but still not nearly as powerful as Ma Bell was back in the day. Honestly, though, how close to that is Amazon? I know they have competition, but they so dominate that it really does make it easy for them to control that. So it'll be interesting. Amazon is now going to start working with the U.S. Postal and has done since 2019, but it's more and more every day. Does it concern you about the depth of Amazon is integrating itself into your everyday life? From the post office now to what you buy to grocery stores. They're even looking at opening hair salons. I don't know, does that concern you? All right, let's keep moving along. Now, some good news about inflation. Lumber prices have seen the biggest ever weekly drop. I was talking recently with some people. When the story went live on June 11th, the price of lumber has slid 40% from May's record high. May set an all-time high, massive. I think it was almost 50 or 500% increase versus the same period last year in the price of lumber. Now we're seeing that come down about 40%, so several 100% still jump, but far better than it was last year. Now, they are working to bring on more mills and to deal with the shortage. We are suffering from the fact that, from talking to people in the industry, in 2008, the demand for lumber plummeted. A lot of sawmills that produced lumber went out of business because they couldn't stay. And ever since 2008, we've never quite returned to the lumber demand that we had before the Great Recession of 2008. Now, though, we actually have surpassed that. So we're now at all-time high demands, or were until very recently, for lumber. And this has created an issue, severe supply shortages and high costs of labor and other things, and very labor-intensive business of creating lumber. Even though a lot of it is now done by machines, there's still a very, very time-consuming part of humans' work to get lumber made. Well, now people seem to be balking. While we are working to get more lumber mills back online to produce more lumber, or new ones start up, I should say, it seems like the drop comes from the fact that people have balked at the price. They looked at the price of lumber and just said, no. Have you done that? I know there's been a few minor projects around the home. We bought a house last year, and one of the things I really would like to update is the light fixtures on the outside of the home. Last fall, I was looking at some, and we kind of had a cold, snowy time, and I had a surgery and different things. I said, next summer after my surgery, I'll buy some new light fixtures for the outside of the home by the garage and the front door, and I'll swap these out to something that doesn't look very dated. Well, the same light fixtures this year cost significantly more money than they did last year. I actually looked at it and I said, wow, I'm not paying that much money. Maybe I'll wait another year, see if the price comes down, or maybe something I like will come on sale. So I balked at that project because, the lights, they're not that bad. They work just fine. But it's definitely on my to-do list to get them replaced. Have you had similar things? Have you had a project that you've looked at and said, no, not doing it. That's not worth it. I know for me, it was lights. Other people have talked about projects to upgrade and fix. We've looked at a few projects we want to do. And for instance, one of the things I wanted to do, but we weren't able to because the pandemic kind of shut down construction in our home, was replace some carpet on the main floor. It's serviceable. It doesn't look awful, but it's definitely starting to wear in some spots. I may put that off. The main reason I put that off also, getting somebody out here. It's very difficult to get people to come out and do that kind of work for you right now. You're just backed up to October. So we'll keep a close eye on it. Let me know. Have prices force you to rethink things? All right, and maybe what may be the Skynet of the future, Google is using AI, artificial intelligence, to design the next generation of artificial intelligence chips. These are custom-built chips meant to help work with artificial intelligence, and it can now be designed by artificial intelligence more quickly, according to The Verge, than humans can. So we've gotten to the point where artificial intelligence, with some help from humans, can design their own future generations of artificial intelligence. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be scared by that, but according to these tests, designs take humans months, but can be matched or beaten by AI in just 6 hours. That's pretty huge. Does that scare you at all? It is definitely a future. AI is becoming more and more powerful, and just think, I got smart devices throughout my home. I ask questions all day long of them, different things. I was measuring and hanging some pictures, and I had a wall, and I was like, okay, what's half of this? And I was like, ask my Echo, what's half of, I don't know, what was it, 178 and 3/4? Let's just say random number, and I got it instantly. Didn't have to think about it. How long until that becomes more and more popular? All right, speaking of security, that like we talked about earlier, and encryption, if you have not updated your passwords, you probably need to do that. A new leak has been posted online for sale of passwords with billions of credentials exposed. Now, according to some people who've looked at this, it seems to be two things. Some new content leaked there, and a collection of different passwords from different leaks. So somebody went out there and took all the different leaks from different places, combined them into a massive leak here with billions of them. Now, this is very important because I always get this. People are like, well, I'm secure. I'm fine. But the problem they don't think about is the password to their bank is the same password they use for some random other website, their email and password. That meant that they could go get that random password from that random site hacked. And then these criminals use bots to go take all these passwords from abcxyz.com. Let's just say some random, hopefully that's not a real website, but some random website. And then, okay, we got 5,000 passwords, usernames. And it starts using them on Netflix and your bank and all kinds of different places, a music service. And then they figure out what those passwords are, and then they turn around and sell them. People go, oh, hey, you can get lifetime access to XYZ service, $15. We give you this, here you go. Or, hey, your service is not available in your market yet. Well, hey, pay us $20 and we'll get you a hookup there. Very profitable, very low risk, very quick work. Somebody, once they get the passwords, they just use a bot to test them all out on different websites to see which ones people reuse their username and passwords. Stop reusing username and passwords. Do your best to try to encrypt all this as well as you can. Do your best to secure it. And never use the password you use with your bank account anywhere else. Your bank account should be not reused. Any password you use for a paid service, no matter how small it is, should not be reused on any free website, for example. Do your best to secure your content as well as you can. Or you could find yourself a victim. It may not be a big thing. Oh, somebody got into my streaming or whatever. Well, the problem with that is they may make a bunch of changes. We've had it in the past where people change the username and passwords and you keep getting billed, but now you can't access it. You have to deal through a headache of getting the local people to use it. I've had that happen to me. It was actually one service I've had for over 10 years. And I honestly just hadn't thought about the fact that I never changed that password. And, it's always pre-saved. It was on my devices. And Didn't think about it. So I've fallen victim to that. I've made that mistake. Maybe today's the day you say, hey, we're going to go and update your bank account. We're going to update some paid services and more. And side note, I really hate websites that have autoplay ad videos. Now, I can get the videos inside this, like a news story. I just went to a local website for news, and it's a pretty big one. Who is running this? Nexstar. Nexstar-owned websites. Autoplay ads with video and audio autoplay. Nexstar, stop that. But that leads up to the next story of the day. Walmart and many retailers are closing their stores all day on Thanksgiving. Now, this seems to be one of those things that took off during the pandemic and has now become even more popular. They join others like Kohl's and Target, who are doing the same. I think I've heard either Lowe's or Home Depot was doing it too. But I think what we're seeing is many companies have discovered that their sales will remain just fine because more and more people are doing it online, but that they can close, not have to pay people to work on Thanksgiving Day, and it makes it a little bit more comfortable for people on work there, knowing they're going to get Thanksgiving and Christmas off, for example. But yes, a growing number of stores are closed now. Several stores have dedicated to remain open. I think Walgreens is going to be one of them. They're traditionally very like, hey, we're here if you have any medical things you need to buy. We'll keep an eye on it. But you definitely want to check this holiday season to see what stores are going to be open. Because if you realize on Thanksgiving morning that you needed milk or something, you may have a hard time finding it. All right. Cost of labor is going up. The ability to get people is going up. Now, we can argue the reason behind that. I know a lot of people argue, well, if these companies would pay a reasonable wage, then people would work there. Other people counter and say, well, we're paying more, but we're competing with the federal government unemployment. If we pay them more, people just stay home because, hey, yeah, I'm making $800,000 less a month, but I can just sit on my couch all day. Those two arguments, I think we could go round and round on. And I don't think it really matters to what's happening here, because what's happening is companies like McDonald's are realizing two things. A, it's now financially feasible to create artificial intelligence or machines to replace humans in certain roles. And because of the shortage of labor and because of the high cost of labor, it's now worth it for us to invest in that. And McDonald's is doing just that. They are rolling out, and this sounds like this is going to be a national rollout when it's all done, an artificial intelligence that will now take your order at the drive-thru. So we're already seeing it inside the restaurants. Most McDonald's now push you heavily to the touchscreens, so no one takes your order at the counter. Remember when there was 3 or 4 people inside taking your order? Those days are long gone. It's now touchscreens. Now outside, artificial intelligence to do it. Now, this is becoming more and more popular. And I remember back in the 2000s, McDonald's tested this out with call centers. So like a call center somewhere in the States, they would have humans test it out and do your order and put it into the machine and more. Now, they actually found that was more accurate than having the employees there. A couple things fell through on it. One, it was a little expensive. You had to have the technology, and more importantly, you had to have staff paying attention to it inside the restaurant. So if something would go wrong with the system, how long would it be until the staff noticed that? 2 was the overall issue of just being able to get a cheap college student, high school, or whatever to do the drive-thru. Now, though, with that changing, McDonald's is going to automate systems. Once they do it, they don't have to pay anybody, and they can have local redundancy right inside this inside McDonald's to process the order right there without having to rely on the internet or other things to process the drive-thru. This allows McDonald's to free up an employee. Think about it, you don't have 2 employees at the front counter. You don't have an employee manning the drive-thru, or nowadays 2 often manning the drive-thru for the 2 different lanes. So look for this to become more and more popular as it becomes the issue. It's definitely push and take on this. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out in the months and years to come. But it's very clear that McDonald's and others have said, hey, it's now financially feasible for us to go and just pay to have artificial intelligence or other mechanical systems replace humans than it is to pay for humans. And that worries me a little bit. It worries me about the first jobs and so many more that need that kind of availability. So I don't know, have you noticed that? This apparently is being tested out in Chicago. It's going to be tested out in many other cities in the months to come. All right, as my neighbor's lawnmower is running, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Let me know what you think of it. Again, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to us on YouTube, check us out on your favorite podcasting app. Just search for The Breakdown with Luke or check out the link in the show notes. And if you have any suggested stories, send me an email, thebreakdownwithluke@gmail.com. Love to hear about any story ideas, questions you want me to answer, or more in the podcast. Thanks for your support. I really appreciate it. I'll be back with another video real soon.